Hello everyone and good evening. This is the TGP series and welcome back to TGP1. It's week 3 of this season's championship, season number 37 of the top tier of TGP Motorsport, and what a fantastic season we've had so far. We've had 4 rounds and 2 weeks so far, and we've got a championship leader who at the moment in this qualifying session is not on pole, but not by much. Ryan McLaughlin, also known as VFR Glock, is our championship leader after taking a race win last weekend, and our reigning champion Jack Hickey finally got his season started as the Ferrari driver got back to the top step of the podium. Joining me in the commentary box tonight is Dom Smith. Dom, good evening, welcome along, welcome to Portugal.
Yeah, hello Mike, thank you for having me. What a couple in the races we've got ahead of us tonight. 2 contrasting circuits, Portugal and then Monaco to come later on. This title battle, as you said, could not be more exciting. We've got Glock, Hickman, Johners, Softy, New Zealand Cam, Phil Bardwell, so many title contenders already. And we're only 2 weeks into the season.
Only 2 weeks in, and we've got the main man at the moment, Soft Cop, who's currently on provisional pole. He's back as a full-time driver. The man who has won so many TGP1 titles, looking to beat James O'Connor's crown. Will he finally take it this season? He had a good start in week number 1, but he was only a reserve then, so missed week number 2 as the full-time drivers returned, and he did lose a little bit of ground in the standings. However, we say that, he is still in a very strong position as it comes to the title order. So as we get into the last few minutes of qualifying, we've got just under 4 minutes left to go. We'll give you a quick rundown of the standings before we get into the drivers who are currently hibernating in the pits as they're ready to go out for their flying laps, one of which is Softy, who's on outlap at the moment. So we'll give you a rundown of the championship order. VFR Glock, also known as Ryan McLaughlin, is first in the standings, 61 points, 8 ahead of our reigning champion Jack Hickman, who's in the Ferrari this season. Jean is in P3 after a strong night for the Mercedes last week, and it was a terrible night for Matt Tibos last week, wasn't it, Dom? P4, barely gained any points, and a chance where he had some really good opportunities to gain some points. He missed out on that opportunity, and then, as you said, Soft Cop is P5 after missing last week. Just less than 30 points behind the championship leader. Then we got New Zealand Cam and Phil Bardwell. So Dom, it's poised nicely. We've got Softy just starting a lap. Where do you see tonight going?
Well, I think Softy has to look the strongest, doesn't he? He's looking for win number 67 of his career, and both these circuits do suit him. There's only, I think, a few circuits that Softy's never won at. Portugal is one of them, along with Singapore and now Imola, having failed to win there 2 weeks ago. But Softy's looking quick here. The gap is only a 10th over Glock, and Hickey, I suspect, will find more time in this session. But Softy is already a 10th up in the first sector.
Yep, looking for his 65th pole position. As you said, he's still some way behind Dan the Man, the all-time leading driver. But as we're seeing him come through the start of the second sector now, he's rising to the top of this hill, and it drops so far. Drivers describe this bit as a roller coaster. And as he drops down the hill into the fast left-hander, he's still on for a good lap. We're going to see what his second split time is in just a few moments and see where he is in relation to his personal best at the moment, which his personal best is still pole position. And he is about half a tenth up on where he was so far last time round in this best lap. He's got a little bit of traffic in front of him, which is Alistair Bain. The Red Bull should get out of his way, you would have thought, or it could give him a very nice tow as we come onto the start finish straight. Dom, it looks like it's going to be the latter.
Yeah, Softy's finding more and more time. He's going to get the shortest run to the line, right to the inside, crosses the line, 1:16.2 to try and beat, and he finds another 2 tenths. That's 3 tenths clear of Glock, who's left it very late, only now leaving the pits, and he's got some traffic.
Yeah, excellent lap there from Softy. We got Phil Bardwell is in 4th at the moment, and he's on a lap, and he's found a 10th in the first sector. He needs a bit more than that to be able to pushing into Softy's times, but at the moment, this would put him a little bit higher up the second row, and would he look to be challenging Glock? The Williams driver then, wiggling his way through the second sector. He's got a little bit of track in front of him, which is an AlphaTauri. We're going to find out his second split time now as he drops down the hill. He's purple, Dom. This isn't over.
Yeah, Phil has really come alive in the most recent 2 seasons. He used to be sort of always fighting for kind of podium finishes at best, but now he's starting to show he really has some pace. He's turned up some assists lately, and you can see that the form is finally starting to come to him. He's finding more and more pace as these races go on. And could this be a time to challenge Softy's pole time?
He's not hugging it as tight to the wall as Softcop did, but as he runs to the line, Phil Bardwell, it's only good enough for third. He lost some time in the last sector. It looked like as he came to the hairpin, that's where he lost most of his time. Jack Hickey, meanwhile, has found a 10th in the first sector, but he's invalidated his lap time. He's not going to be any quicker than 4th, and Matt Tibos now jumps into 4th. The Mercedes driver puts himself on the second row, and after a bad week last week, that's exactly what he will need. And we got Glock Dom, who's just about to start a lap in the nick of time.
Yeah, he's left this very late, hasn't he? He's got no traffic ahead of him. I think a Red Bull further up the road, but that shouldn't be a problem for the championship leader. He's looking for his first title. He's looking for victory number 10. He impressed last season, taking 8 wins, but wasn't able to do anything about Jack Hickman, unfortunately. But Glock has a real chance now to take the title finally this season, but he's got some tough competition, hasn't he? Trying to beat Softy, I think only once in the past has someone beaten Softy over the course of a full season, which Softy has raced at. And already, Glock has found 2:10s in the first sector. He's flying on this lap. He's finding the time. Softy will not get another time in. A 1:16 dead is the time from him. That's quicker than the pole time from last season. But can Glock find even more time when there's traffic in the way there? One of the Williams might have cost him some time.
No. Disastrous for Glock, but it's not over yet. Drops down the hill as the Alfa Romeo races his way up through the gears, and he gets to the top of the next hill. Tricky braking zone. He picks his spot well through the second split. How's he doing? He's lost a little bit of time, but he's still up on his personal best. But it won't more than that. Now, he has got his teammate just in front of him, and are we going to see the two Alfa Romeos working together to give each other a tow? You'd like to think so, but I would imagine that Kong Hofner is not going to sacrifice his qualifying quite so. Just one corner to go, then the long right-hander. And as Glock comes onto the start-finish straight, are we going to see him any higher than second? No, we're not. He only found a little bit of time at the end of the lap, and he stays on the front row, Dom. But I think Glock will be pleased with that. I think he'll still be pleased with the front row lining up next to Softy. He is the championship leader, as we said, and he can't underestimate what sort of damage he can do on the race from there.
Yeah, Softy's the man when it comes to qualifying, isn't he? Already that's 3 poles from 3 sessions in which he started. Softy, the Hasman, really finding his pace in these qualifying sessions, but still yet to win a race this season. It has to be reminded, Softy is yet to taste the champagne from the top step of the podium. Glock already twice this season, so he will fancy his chances from the front row. No one out there is improving. That is qualifying done, so it is going to be Softy and Glock, the 2 exciting drivers on the front row together, and Softy gets fantastic starts, so Glock needs to be cautious of that, and Matt Tibbos has got a penalty.
I think he's got that while his car has been on AI. And Matt Tibbos is a very unlucky driver at times. Sometimes he makes his own bad luck. But if that has genuinely given him a 5-place grid penalty, that is incredibly unlucky for the Mercedes driver. As we said, he had a dismal week last week and lost a lot of ground in the championship when he had a great opportunity to really steal some points back, but didn't take his chances. But Dom, drama already.
Yeah, I think Matt Tibbos is going to be pretty disgruntled with that one. That's going to put him back down to 9th position alongside Jake on the 5th row of the grid. But Softy, what a pole it was. Another to his tally. That's 3 for the season and already 65 in his career. So a good time from the Englishman. Glock second, Phil and Matt, keep an eye on them on the second row. Sorry, it'll be Jack Hickey, won't it? Matt Tibbos drops back down to 9th.
Hickey, promoted up to 4th. Dan the Man and Aidan Griffins will be your 3rd row, and then it'll be Jean CJ, Matt Tibbos, and Jake Davies. Well, Dom, we knew we were going to have an interesting evening, but I didn't quite expect to have that one thrown into us quite so early on.
Yeah, so wow, already twist tonight. We've not even got to Monaco yet, Mike. We've got a lot more to come.
And we've got plenty of twists coming up in Monaco, and not just from the corners. And Dom, I think we're going to get a real. I think we're going to get an exciting race. I think it's going to be an interesting event, and surely we're going to see fireworks into turn 1.
Oh, I think so. It's such a narrow turn 1, isn't it? A sharp kind of turn right. So it'll be interesting to see how the drivers filter through the first sector, especially turn 4. Really easy to lose the back end and spin round. So they've got to be cautious on the first lap, not to be too cautious as well for the car behind to hit you and maybe spin you round. So it's a tricky one to judge, but it should be a very interesting start, and I can't wait to see how this one pans out.
Yep. Well, all the drivers are ready. We're going to get 5 lights going very shortly. Who's going to get the best run down to turn 1? Softy's going to hope it's him. We're going to hope Glock it's going to have a good start. We've got 5 lights on. And as they go out in Portugal, we're underway. And as the run down to turn number 1, are we going to see any moves? It seems that Softy's got away relatively well. And for the moment, at least, he's holding on to it into the turn 1. And he's held on to it. But Glock is going to have to watch his mirrors as it's Phil Barbaro who's going backwards. Drop behind Jack Hickman.
Yeah, not a great start for Phil. The Williams man down to 4th already, and he's Matt Tibbos moving his way up for the field. Fine Jonas for 7th and 8th. The 2 Mercedes drivers need to be careful with one another, but Glock all over the back of Softy.
Yep, Glock all over the run back of Softy and the inside as they go into the hairpin, and the Alfa Romeo driver's got the move done. Softy's going to try and hold on to it round the outside, but as they head into the twisty second sector, are we going to see fireworks? They get very close, and Softy, for the moment at least, has taken the position back.
These two fighting already on the first lap. Great to see these two title contenders pushing each other right to the limit. Jack Hickey still holding on to third for now, but Phil's all over the back of him. And Glock goes for it again on the inside, does he? No, Softy just about holding on for now.
These two giving us some great racing, and as we head towards the end of the lap, Softy's still got the advantage at the moment, but Glock is really well positioned to try and make a move on the run down to turn number 1. Softy seems to be struggling with the warm-up of the tyres on lap 1, and Jack Hickman is placed very well to pounce should anything happen to these two. Aidan Griffiths has had a bad start as well. He's down in 18th fighting with Jack Pearson, but as we head to the end of lap number 1, Softy is your race leader, but by less than a tenth of the second, and as we come onto the start-finish straight, Softy's having to go defensive, and on the run down to turn 1, Glock's got the outside, and he's got the track position, and Dom Smith, he's got the lead of the race.
What a move from the Alfa Romeo man. He just has this extra bit of pace when it comes to the races. May not ever get pole position, but Softy already under attack now from Jack Hickey, the reigning champion for P2. What a start it was from Glock, already in the lead. Now can he try and pull clear, because DRS comes into play in just half a lap's time.
Yeah, and Jazz having to keep an eye on his mirrors. I mean, we got a move. We got a McLaren sending up the inside. CJH, he made the move on the inside of Dan, but he spin on the exit. And unfortunately for him, all that good work has come undone as Matt Tibos recovery drive continues, now up to P6 and putting pressure on the Alpine of Dan as well.
I think Glock will want Softy to come under attack now from Jack Hickey. If Jack Hickey can get involved, that might allow Glock to get that bit of breathing space to try and pull clear. Not quite sure what that's for.
Hoffner is off the track. He's spun, facing the wrong way, getting himself back going. So one Alfa Romeo out in front, the other one facing the wrong way. And Glock has given himself a couple of tenths of a second advantage. It just seems to have a bit more downforce on that car, Dom, I wonder. And maybe that's giving him a little bit of extra confidence in that second sector. But we all know Softy's a wily old fox, and he'll certainly be biding his time. Someone who isn't biding his time at the moment is Phil Bargewell, putting pressure on Jack Hickman. Then the Williams driver might fancy his chances on the run down to turn number 1 as Glock sets the fastest lap of the race. Phil Bargewell in the wheel tracks. Matt Tibos also in the wheel tracks of Dan. Not in the wheel tracks anymore. He's up the inside and he's made 5th place his own, starting to claw back the space he lost from that 5-place grid penalty in qualifying.
Yeah, Matt Tibos needs to get himself back into this fight. He is very much a title contender, a former 2-time champion himself, so he is very much in the fight for this top ultimate prize. He needs to get himself back with the leading trio. He's now got Phil Bargewell ahead of him. He can get through Phil. He's then fighting his 3 title contenders in Glock, Softy and Hickman. Softy sticking with Glock, despite Glock setting back-to-back fastest lap times, and Phil all over the back of the Ferrari. So we've got a nice race here. When are we going to start seeing pit stops? Probably around lap 6 or 7, I think. Maybe someone will come in earlier to try and pull an attack move on those in front.
Oh, and I think something just happened to Cam. He was making a move on John, now finds himself in a big gaggle of cars as they come through the middle sector. No idea how there wasn't contact there between what looked like Jordan and Cam's now gone round. He's spun and he's dropping to the back of the order. Disaster for the New Zealander, who as we said at the beginning of this programme, was in the hunt for the championship. Meanwhile, back at the front, we've got 6 cars who are all within a second of the car in front, and therefore all be benefiting from DRS. So at the moment, Phil Bargewell's the closest one to any of them, who's just 0.3 of a second behind Jack Hickman.
Yeah, he's looking good, isn't he? Is the Williams man. Phil Bargewell really finding pace. He hadn't qualified, now trying to get ahead of the reigning champion. Let's not forget Jack Hickey is the man to beat, the one that everyone wants to try and top this season. Jack Hickey really impressed last time out, didn't he? 9 victories over the course of the campaign. There's a spin in the background.
Matt Tibos, he's gone round, and we said that he was making up for all that work that he lost in qualifying for a 5-place grid penalty that perhaps wasn't deserved, but he sent himself tumbling down the order, perhaps struggling on those soft tyres. But it's a disaster for the Mercedes driver, a man who's had so much bad luck and just mistakes so far this season, has got another one to add to his tally.
Phil's getting really, really close to the Ferrari. Jack Hickey almost pushed him round the final corner there. He's getting so close. It's the Williams man. He can see Jack Hickey just 3 tenths ahead. He'll want to get through as soon as he can. DRS in play, of course, but Jack's getting it from Softy, and Softy's getting it from Glock. So I'm surprised Glock not under more of a threat down that start finish straight. Really using his errs wisely. But yeah, real shame for Matt Tibos there. Down to 13th now. He's not having the best of luck here in Portugal, is he?
Yeah, and Jack is also teetering on being out of DRS from Softy. Every now and then it does just tick over to a second, so he's going to need to keep that range if he's going to keep Phil Bargewell behind him, because Phil, he looks the raciest of the top 4 at the moment, Dom.
Yeah, Phil's really attacking these drivers in a piss-off already. I think it's that Dan the man coming in at the end of the 4th lap. It is. Early call-in from the Alpine man. Will that trigger the cars in front to pit as well?
I wonder if Dan maybe got some damage, perhaps from... Obviously, we didn't see it, so I'm just guessing, but maybe him and Matt were running very close at the time. Obviously, as they ran down to turn 1, Matt was making a move. So Perhaps picked up some damage in that incident. We'll keep an eye on that. He is out of the box again, so maybe just an early stop there for the Alpine driver. Meanwhile, further ahead, we've got the top four, 4.3 seconds clear of anybody else now. What a race we got in store for us, Dom.
Yeah, and Dan, crucially, boxing has come out in fresh air, so those ahead now will know that if they pit now, tries to do the undercut, they'll also come out in clean air, can start to attack in faster pace, and maybe do the undercut on the drivers they are fighting. So will Softy dive into the pits this time? Will Glock think he's going to do it and come in to react?
I think Softy's got to be the man who does. You know, he's not getting anywhere at the moment, and he's got to try doing something different. Glock can match him on pace. Glock's doing what he needs to do out front, and he's keeping him where he needs him. Softy's not getting close enough to be able to make a move, and it seems that in the latter part of the lap, sort of latter part of Sector 2, Sector 3, that's where Glock's really got the advantage on Softy at the moment, and where he's not able to make the inroads, and where he needs to in order to try and overtake the man through the main DRS zone down the main straight. Softy, we can see now gaining on the Alfa Romeo driver, but just not being able to get close enough down the run, down to turn one. And Phil Bargewell also now giving Jack Hickman a bit of a wider berth, as the top four seem to be settling down a little bit more, as Matt Tibos further back has come into the pit.
Yeah, Aiden's just passed Ollie Hart for P9, so working his way back through the field after a poor start for the Red Bull man, reigning back-to-back Constructors champions. But yeah, Softy just seems to close up so much at the end of that straight, but Glock, for whatever reason, like you said, just manages his so wisely, has it hooked up in that final sector, manages to be far enough ahead to not lose it down into turn one. So Glock really managing this race very well, and Dan surely must have had damage, because those at the front are thinking it's far too early to come into the pits.
Yeah, I think he must have done perhaps a little bit of an issue there with Matt Tibos, maybe sending him further back. But we can see again what's going on here. Softy, just during Sector 1, early part of Sector 2, able to get under half a second from Ryan. And this is the first time, actually, we've got to this hairpin, and that gap has stayed around there. So maybe Softy's got his best opportunity this lap, but he needs to keep this gap where it is. But as we said, so far, Glock is doing a very good job of managing that gap. The Alfa Romeo driver getting his head down. And these four, as we said, not streaking away from each other. It's never been more than a second for any of them, really. Still none of them come into a pit, but Softy is as close as he's ever been now, and on the main run down the straight he's getting closer, and his gap's less than 4 tenths, but he's not quite close enough to make a move yet. Will he try something into turn 3 though? He's kept up behind the back of the Alfa Romeo driver, but not close enough to do it. Maybe we'll see a move though, Dom, down into turn number 5, the second DRS zone, as they come now onto the back straight. Softy's gone a little bit wide, but he's still within striking distance, and the biggest braking zone on the track. Are we going to see move to the inside? No, he thinks better of it, just staying where he needs to with Glock at the moment, perhaps waiting for the pit stops, maybe trying to plan an undercut, as we do have a yellow flag further back. I think we had Theo Hickman who was round on.
Yeah, just not quite close enough there for Softy, was he, to make a move on his rival. Yellow flag's indeed out for Kong Hofner, spinning in that first sector. But what a race we got on here. Not really many overtakes between the front runners, but they're all so close together, poised nicely for the second half of this race. Maybe they're all waiting for some sort of safety car. VSC, we know how common they can be in these 25% races, so keep an eye on anything like that. It would be a shame, of course, if we saw in the F1 on the weekend, Perez pitted quite early on and then lost all of that hard work because of a VSC just a lap later. So
Softy's closer, Dom.
He is.
He's this is as close as he's been as we've been coming towards the main straight. But he just doesn't seem to have quite that straight line speed. Are we going to see any of them come in? Yes we are. The top 2 pit. So just as Softy had got the closest he had to, maybe Glock realised what was going on, and now it's a race in the pit stops. We've got the Alfa Romeo garage, which comes up first, so you would think that it's unlikely we're going to see any changes in the order unless something drastic happens.
Yeah, and of course, this means Jack Hickey now loses DRS, who he was getting from Softy. So now Phil has a glorious chance to maybe take the net lead of this race. If he can get clear of the Ferrari and maybe pull some pace here, he's going to go for a move, isn't he? Just too far back, I think, is the Williams man. These two surely will pit this time round, or maybe they'll wait for a VSC or safety car. But as you said, Softy, crucially, still behind Glock.
Sorry to interrupt you there. We got a battle between Glock and Softy's up the inside. I don't know what happened on the pit exit. Perhaps Glock was a little bit hesitant, but Softy, for the moment, has taken the net lead of the race. But he's going to have to go defensive because Glock's got DRS. Softy covering the inside with all of his might. Glock's going to have to go the long way around. Softy's late on the brakes. He forces him wide. The two are still going at it, and there's almost contact. And for the moment, at least, Softy just about has a neck ahead, and Glock's having to pull him behind. Drama on the pit exit, and Glock's gone for it again, and there's almost contact. But for the moment, at least, Softy has got the net lead of the race.
Yeah, I have no idea how that happened. Softy should have been about a second behind him as they came out of the pits, but Glock was right with him into turn one. So maybe, as you said, just Glock sleeping on the restart, or maybe just didn't quite get the pit release off as quickly. The top two are coming in, and will they be able to now fight with Softy and Glock, who have been battling for half a lap?
And Softy's been held up massively by Theo here, and he's losing a lot of time. So this could be a really good opportunity for Jack Hickman, of course Theo's brother, let's not forget, to take the net lead of the race. And as the Softy and Glock are rounding the final corner now, Jack Hickman is just about to leave the pits. So we're getting
going for a move.
Softy's being taken by Theo. Glock's coming through as well. The three of them are all so close.
And they're miles behind.
They're through. They're through, Dom. They're miles ahead.
Softy's out! Softy's crashed out of the race!
Something has happened there with, I'm assuming, Theo and Glock. They were all side by side as they went into turn number one. My focus just shifted away to go and have a look at what was going on between Jack Hickman and Phil. But Softy, a man potentially favourite for the title, now finds himself, for the third race in a row, not scoring any points.
What drama here, and TGB on Softy is going to be leaving Portugal pointless. It's another circuit he's now never won at. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Theo was attacking Softy. Softy was so slow down that straight, wasn't he? He could see Jack Hickey and Phil come out ahead of them all. That was the deficit that these guys lost fighting each other the previous lap. But Theo Hickman, a spanner in the works. He had some real pace down that straight. Maybe he's got some sort of damage because it looked like he was going very slow through the final sector. Glock now has to try and get through on the Ferrari man, who I'm sure will be helping his teammate Jack Hickey. Theo Hickman holding up these pace.
He's losing so much time. Glock's out 3 seconds behind Phil. We've got Phil and Jack. Dom, you mentioned it just a moment ago, that what happened in Formula 1 with Perez coming in too early. Perhaps that's exactly what we've just seen with Glock and Softy. They sort of covered each other off, just completely forgetting about Phil and Jack. And Phil is out right on the back of Jack Hickman. We've got a race for the lead.
Safety
here,
car.
as Ollie Hart has brought out, and Roy Scorer. Oh, Roy Scorer is the leader of the race. He needs to pit. So it's worth mentioning Ollie Hart was very briefly the leader of the race there. McLaren, the only team on the grid this season with a driver in the team who a driver in the team who's won the race. Both their drivers never running a TGP1 race before. They've lost Ollie Hart now, and now we've got a safety car. And this is, I tell you who this helps most. Not only does it help Roy, but it helps Glock. He had lost so much time after the pit stops. He had fallen so far back, Phil and Jack, but the safety car now puts him right back into play.
We saw in Bahrain that Glock was happy to box for new softs and lose 5 positions. And in the end, it worked for him. He came back to win the race. Will he do something similar here? If he pits now, he's going to come out about probably 9th position, maybe even still ahead of Manatee. Manatee will pit as well, of course. He'll drop to maybe 6th or 7th. So interesting to see how he benefits from this. But will Glock choose to pit again, lose 4 places, and be on fresh softs to the end? It worked a treat in Bahrain. But yeah, Manatee will be thanking this safety car. He's going to get a glorious chance now to take a net safety car pit stop loss.
He absolutely is. On the medium tyres at the moment, Jovial Manatee, Roy Scorer, missed out on the TGP GT title recently to Court Gill. Court is running in this race, isn't he? No, he's not actually. Court was meant to be running in this race, but isn't. Roy is now in the pits.
Glock pits.
Where are we going to see the AlphaTauri? Glock does pit, as does Dan. Dan pits as well. John stays out. John will move up into 3rd place unless Roy can get out before him. Jordan's going to pass as well, I would have thought. Yeah, Roy's going to be P5. Jovial Manatee P5 on brand new soft tyres. That could have been a masterstroke from Roy. Completely.
Oh. Glock's had to change his front wing, so he's now behind Dan as well as Theo again. So Glock came in, must have got damage then from the softy incident. He now has dropped back a few places. He has got fresh softs to the end, but he's going to be behind Jack Pearson and Matt Tibbles as well if he's not careful. He is.
Wow. That's interesting. So let's have a quick look in terms of the drivers then. Matt Tibbles also came into the pits then as well. Jack Pearson didn't pit. He is the he pitted onto the mediums very early though. He's on 8-lap old mediums. He's going to struggle. And he could be in the cork in the bottle, and he has got some pretty big bubbles, Dom, putting pressure on this cork. We've got Matt Tibbles right behind him, Glock just behind him, Aiden just behind him. You know, we've got 3 drivers there who will be very eager to make up some space as soon as they're able. But what an interesting curveball this was thrown into the race now. Jack Hickey leads. He is our reigning TGP1 champion, let's not forget. Took it only his first race win of the season last week in round number 3. Up until then, had a dismal start to the season. And Phil Bargewell, Dom, he was in our podcast last week. We asked him why he hasn't won any more. This could be a great opportunity for him to add to his tally.
It could be, couldn't he? He's looking for that elusive 10th victory in TGP1. Not one for, I think he won one last season, but other than that, it's not really been any since sort of 2 or 3 years ago. Phil Bargewell finding more and more pace. So as I said, since turning those assists off, and now with a real chance to take victory here in Portugal. A circuit he's done well at before, but got to keep an eye on Glock. Jack Pearson's pitting again. Not sure that's for new softs, or had he not pitted? He pitted early on, didn't he, for mediums?
Jack Pearson's pitted again. Yeah, so he had done a pit stop already this race. So I think he's done a Kaya from TGP2 and has decided to pit during the safety car rather than when it's just called. So let's give you a bit of a rundown then with the order with who's what in terms of tyres as well. So Jack Hickey, your race leader, on 2-lap old medium tyres, as is Phil Bargewell in second, John in third, and Jordan in fourth. All of them on 2-lap old medium tyres. Fifth place, Roy Scorer, Jovial Manatee, brand new soft tyres. He's the highest person who came in for a pit stop during the safety car period. Then we got Theo Hickman, who's on only 1-lap old medium tyres. He came in during that, well, actually after the softy incident, so just a lap before the safety car. Dan the Man, also on brand new soft tyres. Matt Tibos on 1-lap old soft tyres in P8. Glock, also on brand new soft tyres, P9. And Aidan Griffins, rounding out the top 10, also on brand new soft tyres. Are we going to see a situation here, Dom? Because we're probably going to have the safety car coming in this lap. We're going to have 5 laps to go after this. Could the top 4 be a sitting duck?
I think there could be. It'd be amazing to see Roy, Jovial Manatee, get a win. It's been so long since his last win. Must have been F1 2017 or 18. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's been a while for the Manatee. Manatee, so much success in other games such as GT Sport, but not quite had that success on F1 in the past. But we're about to go racing again. How late is Jack Hickey going to leave this? We know he likes to leave it pretty late. Phil Bargewell's going to be all over him and ready to attack in this 5-lap sprint. This is going to be thrilling, Mike.
Well, we've got a very wide start-finish straight, and Phil is probably going to have to use every inch of that start-finish straight to get past that Ferrari, who's going to make himself as wide as possible. We've got a little bit of incident going on further back involving Kong Hoffner and Alistair Bain. Jack Hickey holding on. He's perfectly entitled to do so. As long as he doesn't speed up or slow down erratically, he's perfectly entitled to do what he wants. And Phil Bargewell knows that, and he's keeping his cars close to his chest. And but Jack goes, and Phil is under pressure from John. And John's got a great opportunity on the run down to turn 1. He's on the inside, but Phil's got such good straight line speed even, and no one's close enough to make a move. But further back, Matt Tibos has already got past Theo Hickman, has he? They're still running side by side. It's very close, and for the moment at least, Matt Tibos stays put, but Glock's now on the inside, and he looks to have got 8th place from the Mercedes driver already. Meanwhile, back to the front, we still got Jack Hickman in the lead, but now we've got Jean under pressure from Jordan, and on the run down to the hairpin, it's Theo Hickman who's making a move on Dan, and they're all concertinaing as they come into the hairpin, and Matt Tibos has lost a place in all this to Aidan Griffins as well. Matt Tibos is on the attack again, but Glock and Tibos haven't made up the ground they need to, and we've got Theo Hickman round, who made contact with Dan the Man, and he's picked up some damage most certainly there, and there's a concertina of cars all gaggling further back, as we've got Jack Pearson off as well. Dom, very dramatic restart.
Yeah, and Matt Taylor's hitting the back of Glock. That's not going to help his chances of coming through the field. Keep an eye on Dan, Glock, Matt, and also, who's this? Aidan Griffin's joining the fight too. All these drivers on clean tyres, are going to be working their way up through the field. Dan the Man, a bit sluggish out of that third sector. Glock may have a chance to go round the outside, does he? Not quite. Jake Davis getting a good view of this, and Glock does indeed go up to 6th, so he's going to start catching these guys now. 4 more laps to go. What a race we've got on our hands. Oh, Dan must have damage. Dan must have damage.
Yeah, as does Matt Tibos. Matt Tibos definitely has damage. Matt Tibos is coming into the pits. We've got a lot of drivers coming into the pits, actually. Dan's picked up a 5-second penalty. We've got 4 drivers who have come into the pits after sustaining damage. And Glock, meanwhile, is having to go defensive. But we've got Jake and Aidan getting very close. And we've got a spinner further back. And Kong Hoffner has once again found himself facing the wrong way in this race. That's not something we've said too rarely so far. Meanwhile, further ahead, Roy is not making the inroads we would have thought for a man on fresh soft tyres.
I think Roy could do with his teammate getting out of the way. Jordan, of course, will want his own chances of a podium here, but Manatee not really making much ground with Jordan just hovering in front of him. But then saying that, and Manatee's a whole second behind almost. He won't even be DRS range in a lap's time at this rate. But Phil Bardwell, crucially, sticking around 7 or 8 tenths behind Hickey within the DRS, but not close enough to attack into turn 1.
Aidan Griffiths is currently the meat in an Aston Martin sandwich, and Cam is looking to sort out his race after that spin earlier on. He lost a lot of ground. Jake Smith picked up a penalty as well just ahead of him, so that will help Aidan. But again, someone else who's not quite made up the ground we perhaps expected. As we come onto the start-finish straight then, Jack Hickman will have just 3 laps to go as they cross the line, and at the moment he's doing enough to keep Phil at bay and take his second race win of the season. We've got a yellow flag a little bit further back. I think that's Theo Hickman who's having another spin, and as they start the third to last lap, Dom, it's anyone's guess.
Yeah, indeed it is. It's going to be a 3-lap sprint now to the finish. Phil just about 4 tenths adrift. Glock not making the progress I thought he would have. He's still about a second, just under a second behind Manatee, who's ahead of him. Manatee getting closer and closer to Jordan now. Maybe just saving these softs for the final couple of laps. I think the softs should be fine to push for all these 5 laps as we go racing again back to the safety car. But yeah, Manatee not quite making the progress I thought he would have. Manatee has had a tough start to the season. He had a podium earlier on, but then a DNF, almost a non-score in Australia. So mixed season for Manatee so far.
Yep, and he obviously got spun in Australia as well while fighting for a podium position with Aidan Griffiths. Phil Bardwell getting all leery in that Williams, and he knows he's only got a couple more opportunities. We will start having DRS from next lap. Phil keeping within a second of the Ferrari driver in front, our reigning champion, Jack Hickman, still in the lead of this race. Quick recap for you. We had a great battle earlier on involving Glock, Softy, Jack Hickman and Phil Bardwell. Hickman and Phil Bardwell stayed out an extra lap while Glock and Softy pitted early to try and get a good advantage, and they got exactly the opposite. They got involved in collisions with each other, and Softy went out the race as Glock picked up damage. And Glock is now all over the back of Roy Scorer further back, and we thought Roy was going to be the one doing the attacking. He now might be having to check his mirrors to do the defending, Dom.
Suddenly Manatee, yeah, I think Glock doesn't have that straight line speed down into turn 1. Every time it just seems to lose pace. So those behind are in front of him. We've got Jake now back ahead of Aidan. Jordan looking to try and get through on Jonas, just about holding on to that podium finish. Maybe Jonas is actually going to be in a title contention after all, and said he wouldn't, but he's got some good pace here. And Glock now attacking both AlphaTauris for 5th and 4th. How far can he get up in this race?
Yeah, well, he's trying to go the long way around Roy Scorer. That's not going to work, I'm afraid, son. You're going to have to buy your time as Aidan now tries to make another move at the inside of a Aston Martin. Matt Tibos sets the fastest lap further back, and he is going to get a point for that, as currently he is within the points. 1.5 laps to go. Jack Hickman has got a half a second advantage. Glock is just a 10th of a second behind Roy Scorer, and I thought he was going to send one then at the top of the hill, but he keeps behind for the moment and might be trying his luck on the main straight or into the next hairpin. Are we going to see a lunge from the Alfa Romeo driver? No, we're not. And Dom, at the moment it seems like Jack Hickman's doing enough, but Roy Scorer certainly isn't doing enough to keep this Alfa Romeo behind.
Yeah, brilliant controlled drive from Jack Hickey up front, just about holding on to Phil Bardwell. Phil Bardwell unable to get any closer than he currently is. Now a glorious chance for Glock to get Manatee as they start this final lap of the race. And Manatee pulling far to the right. Glock will have what becomes the inside line for turn 1 then. Is he going to have the straight line speed to get the AlphaTauri down to the first corner? Manatee might just have to sort of sit back and let him go for it. He does indeed. Doesn't want to fight that too much. He's down to 6th. Glock up to 5th. 10 points in this championship battle.
Yep, and we've got Jordan all over the back of Jean, and we've got Phil all over the back of Hickman. He's got one more opportunity, and perhaps it's here. Are we going to see Phil make a late lunge? No, we're not. He keeps back with him at the moment. Jean keeps ahead of Jordan, and Glock still could get a podium here. He's got 2 drivers in front of him on old mediums. I mean, Glock soft aren't going to be particularly great at the moment, but I have to say, don't count out Glock for a podium yet. Meanwhile, Phil is still all over the back of Jack Hickman.
This is so close, so good, isn't it? 4 tenths the gap. Can Hickey hold on? Surely it'll be enough. It's going to be a drag race, I think, down to turn 1. Glock is going on the inside of Jordan for P4. Can he take the AlphaTauri man? The championship leader has gained another position in this race. I think it's going to be too late, unfortunately, for Phil.
Yep, he's just a couple of car lengths behind. He had a sort of half-hearted attempt into the hairpin, but wasn't close enough. And it seems that Jack Hickman is going to take his 2nd race win of the season. The Ferrari driver is going to do wonders for his championship challenge. He survives the threat and wins in Algarve. Jack Hickman wins in Portugal, and John just and I mean just, holds on for P3 ahead of Glock and Jordan. A disaster in the end for the Alpha Tauris, who at one moment looked like they were going to be challenging for third, end up with 5th and 6th. And then we got Cam in P7, Wet Lemons, the only Haas driver to score, in P8, Aidan Griffin's 9th, Jake 10th. CJH comes home to pick up a couple of points in 11th. Jack Pearson will finish 12th. Kong Hoffner, who spent more time backwards than he did forwards, in 13th. And Matt Tibos, only the 1 point.
Yeah, we actually jumped up to 13th
points.
In the end. Yeah, 3 points. He gets the bonus point for fastest lap as well.
Of course.
So, Matt Tibos, not a totally pointless weekend. He's still getting 3 more points than Softy has. So he actually increases his lead over Softy, the title favourite. So still a long way to go in this season, but that is why Jack Hickman won the championship last season. All race, it didn't really look like he was ever going to be in contention for the win, or the first half of the race at least anyway. Then suddenly, he's the man, controls it, takes the win. Another 25 points on the board. Jack Hickey, what a drive. It looked like after qualifying he was maybe looking for a podium at best, but yeah, what a controlled performance that was from the Ferrari man. 25 more points, and that is another race win to his collection. What a drive.
Yeah, absolutely excellent stuff there, and we're going to find out the games driver of the day just shortly. There it is, it's Cam. Dom, I'm going to ask you, who is your driver of the day in this one?
I think for me it's got to be between Jack Hickey or Phil. Those two were the standout men. Phil really impressive, not necessarily the quickest guy, not necessarily the youngest guy, Mike, but he is showing that old age does not necessarily mean you're going to be at the back. Phil Bardrell really impressive for that P2. Another great podium as well for John is in third, let's not forget. But Jack Hickey, I mean, really it has to be him, doesn't it? Another brilliant win from the Ferrari man. Was there, set the lap times when required, and takes the victory.
You can almost hear the Tifosi from Maranello here in the south of Portugal as Jack Hickman takes another race victory. And let's give you a rundown of our provisional classified order then. Jack Hickman takes the race victory ahead of Phil Bardrell in P2. Jean held on for third place with Glock. A good recovery drive in the end from him in P4. P5 went to Jordan and P6, his teammate Roy. 7th was Cam. Wet Lemons, as we said, the only Haas driver to score in P8. Aidan Griffins in P9 and Jake rounding out the top 10. Then in 11th we had the McLaren of CJH. Jack Pearson picking up a few points in 12th. Matt Tibos, one of the championship contenders, in P13. Kong Hoffner picked up the solitary point in P14. And then we had Alistair Bain and Dan, the last of our classified runners, with then Theo Hickman, Softcop, and 2 other drivers failing to finish the race. Dom, I'd like to draw your attention. We're seeing a little bit of activity going on off screen between Softy and Glock, perhaps giving us a little bit of an insight of what went on between them, as it does seem like contact was made on the run down to turn 1. Neither driver at the moment taking any blame. Dom, how do you see that? Is this going to be a key moment in the championship? Glock picking up points as the championship leader. Softy, the man who's having to come back after missing week number 2, has ended up pointless here. Who's this a bigger blow for? Obviously, we don't know if there's going to be any penalties dished out or whatever, but at the moment, Glock has picked up a solid 12 points. Softy's got nothing.
I mean, I think it's blows for both of them, really. Obviously, more so for Softy. Another non-score, 3 on the bounce. That's not what he needs to be in this title fight. But even for Glock, he's just lost ground in the championship fight. Jack Hickman very quietly sneaking back to the front. He was, I think, 9 points or 10 points back from Glock going into tonight. Already, he's now 5 points clear of him. Jack Hickey, the new championship leader. So Glock's lost his title lead. He may have gained points on Softy, but he's dropped a place in the championship. I mean, if those two keep fighting each other all season long, you're going to suddenly see Jonas and Matt Tibos and Jack Hickey, maybe even Phil, creeping up and taking the points, the victories, and maybe one of them will snatch the championship, because it does seem like Softy and Glock are the two standout drivers on pure pace at the moment, but yet neither of them are leading the championship.
And do you think that while all of that was going on, perhaps Glock and Softy were focused too much on each other rather than the race as a whole?
Potentially. I think that is the case. Mike, I think you may actually be taking Court's space. I think you need to just try and hit spectate if you can, or
oh, there you go.
There you are.
There we go.
Mike Noon there taking a space
Court.
of Court. We'd like to see Court in that race.
TGP GT champion, excellent. Thank you, Court. Good stuff. So, anyway, where were we? So, did we see a case there of two drivers getting so caught up in trying to beat each other that they sort of forgot about the bigger picture?
I mean, potentially. Of course, Softy and Glock have sort of had a few
we're
runs.
very early in the championship. Let's not forget. But did they mess up?
Yeah, I mean, I think they definitely both messed up, didn't they? I mean, both of them have left without a win, without a podium. Glock still got 12 points. I mean, I don't know who's to blame for the incident. I'll have to see it again. I think I only really saw it as it happened live. It looked like maybe the two of them came together. I think it was in turn one, wasn't it? They were both maybe focused on maybe fighting each other when Theo was still there. Theo, I don't think he has any blame in that incident. I think, yeah, we'll have to see it again, or maybe see what the stewards decide in that one. But both of them will need to focus on trying to get maximum points here in Monaco. And this is a track that I know Softy does very well at. So a huge chance now for him to get back in that title fight, because already he's 41 points adrift of Jack's current tally of 78.
Yeah, well, big race for some drivers out there. Another one, I'm going to start a new section in our streams, taking some inspiration from the Race F1 podcast. If anyone listens to it, you'll know what's probably about to come. I'm going to start Matt Tibos Sympathy Corner, Dom. So he had a bit of a disaster in this race, as has been a bit of the case in the last couple of weeks. Got unlucky to begin with this mysterious 5-place grid drop, but he didn't help himself thereafter, did he?
I mean, yeah. I mean, when luck's not going your way, then it's not going your way. But at the same time, maybe Matt could have avoided a couple of key moments in that race where I think he got wing damage from the back of, I think it was Glock, maybe a bit too eager at the safety car restarts, or maybe caught out by those ahead battling. But Matt Tibbles, yeah, I guess you make your own luck in a way, but Matt's definitely been on the bad end of that. Hopefully, I hope for Matt's sake, because it's always great to see him flying up there for wins. One of our, most experienced drivers now, in a way. He's been here for quite a few years. He's won a couple of titles, so it'd be hopefully good to see him back at the front and hopefully challenging for the win here in Monaco. Again, another circuit he's won at before.
I mean, we could end up in a really quite special situation here, where we end up with Softy, Ryan, Glock, Jack Hickman, and Matt. 4 drivers, all with championships. Three of them with championships, and only Glock, who hasn't got one, in 4 different teams as well, battling for a title. This could be one of the best TGP1 seasons we've had in a long time.
Yeah, it's really good, isn't it? It's good to see a variety of drivers all in contention for race wins, championships. I mean, this has got to be one of the, I think Phil mentioned it in the podcast last Wednesday, probably one of the most stacked lineup we've ever had. The competition is just unreal at the moment. So many drivers in this field have won races in the past. I mean, I look at the lineup this season compared to maybe 5 years ago, and yeah, the depth is unreal, and real champions in there, race winners, all can do it on their day. Maybe not Jack Pearson, but the rest of them, Mike, certainly can.
And are we going to see once again someone finally get the better of Softy once more? If I'm right in saying Odem's last person to beat Softy in the season.
Odems did do it. I think Matt Tibbles is the most recent of the drivers. Matt Tibbles managed to beat Softy over the course of a full season. I think when he won his second title, Softy puts that down to a key issue, which I think he used to have some sort of energy setting that he would use during the races, and it sort of changed on the new game. He wasn't aware of it. So he puts it down to that. I think Matt was just better. But Matt gave us a really good battle. Already front wing flying off one of these cars. I think it might be the McLaren, the blue front wing of the McLaren. I think that might be Ollie Hart.
Could be Jack Pearson, actually.
Oh, yeah, maybe Jack Pearson, actually. He's in, of course, the Blue Williams. But yeah, should be an interesting race, Mike. Looking forward to seeing how this one pans out, just like the last one.
Yeah, I think we could be treated again here, ladies and gentlemen. So hold on to your spleens. And actually, Dom, I'd like to make a correction. I think it could be Cam who's wingless. Is it? No. I'm so confused. I'll stop trying to identify the wing. It's going to be Softy who's going to be the person to set the first lap. So, Dom, shall we ride on board with the Haas driver, former TGP1 champion? Dom, talk us through a lap of Monaco. You can't talk me through a lap.
No, Monaco. I could do it. I could do it. Yeah, so Softy, one of the better drivers around this circuit. He's really nailed it. Won here multiple times in the past. Lost a few more wins as well, of course, with various issues. I think there was an R2 issue button once. a glitch safety car, a drive-through for a pass an illegal car, which again was a glitch. So Softy's not had the best of luck, but also really has excelled around this circuit. It's a really tight and twisty circuit, isn't it? You got to nail it. You got to really get it all flowing together, corner after corner, to try and get yourself at the front. It's so easy to make a mistake and so easy to end your qualifying session. Can't hit those barriers, or if you do, ever so slightly, and we've seen maybe through some of the chicanes you can sort of tap it and get away with it. But Softy already invalidated, and that's my cue, Mike, to go for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, Dom, if you're wondering where the hysteria came from, Dom messaged me as I said we're going to go to Dom for an onboard lap, as he needed a couple of minutes away from the mic. Obviously I can't control what you're seeing, so I'm just going to give you a general overview of what's going on. We've got, who've we got on a lap at the moment? Alistair Baines on a lap. Still no one has set a completed qualifying lap. Everyone so far only on finishing out laps or setting or crossing the line with an invalidated lap time. Jack Pearson, the first person to set a lap time of 1 minute 16.0. Court Gill instantly beats that by 4.5 seconds, giving you a bit of an idea of Jack's sort of pace. But we've got Alistair Bain at the moment, who's going purple in the middle sector. Aidan Griffiths has just gone fastest on a 1:11.3 on the medium tyre as well. Alistair Bain's pulled off into the pits after clipping the wall. We've got Matt Tibbos on an outlap then. Jake Davies then, he's approaching the final corner at the moment, not invalidated his lap, and I'd be very surprised if he did with just a couple of corners to go. Dan the Man now goes P1 on the medium tyre again, a 1 minute 10.6. Jake Davies comes across the line, he goes second on the soft tyre, and he's 4/10 behind Dan, not quite in the 1 minute 10. John has just set a time, he's 10 seconds slower. Soft Cop, meanwhile, coming around the final corner. He is on a lap which at the moment he hasn't ruined. And if he comes up to the line, surely we're going to see the Haas driver move up into provisional pole. No, it's only good enough for P5, maybe doing a little bit of a cool down lap. We've got a yellow flag in sector 1 and 2. I think that's just for the amount of cars that we've got on track at the moment. Jake's going very slow, Matt Tibbos going very slow. Have we got any... What about Jack Hickman? How's Jack Hickman getting on? He's coming around the final corner at the moment to finish a lap. And how is the Ferrari driver going to do? He goes provisional pole then. First man into the 1 minute 9's Dom Smith, and Jack Hickman picks up where he left off in Portugal.
Yeah, Jack Hickman, good first lap. Softy there, I thought he was about to smash it, but in the end was 3 seconds off. So maybe just kind of a cool lap just to get a lap time on the board. Of course, and invalidated his previous one. Again, so easy to do over the chicanes, or maybe just caught in a corner a bit too slightly. But Jack Hickey, the fastest time so far, a 1:09.8. That's still 6/10 off the pole time from last season. And we're expecting maybe the likes of Jack and Softy to get in to the 1:08 if they can nail a lap together. So still more pace to find, but Jack Hickey, a good start already. 8/10 clear of anyone else at the front.
Yeah, Roy Scorer just pops up into P6, Jovial Manatee there. Interesting to see how many drivers going out on the medium tyre to begin with. We'll see if that's a bit of a trend that will continue. We've got Cam, who's just gone out of the pits on an outlap. Alistair Bain on an outlap. Wet Lemons just on an outlap. Glock, how's he getting on? He hasn't set a lap time yet. P19, not very good for him. And we've had a car just jump up the order. Kong Hoffner's gone 7th. Aidan Griffiths looks like he's on an in lap. I don't think we've got anyone on a push lap at the moment, unless Jean's on a quick lap, which he isn't. I don't think, although he's giving it full beans as he gets towards the back, so maybe we are going to see a lap. Oh, he is actually. He's purple. I stand corrected. I'm sorry, Jean-Luc. He's on an absolute flyer, Dom. He's just got a couple more corners to go, and are we going to finally see a title challenge emerge from this Mercedes driver?
Yeah, Jonas really wants to get in that title fight. It's been so long since his last season. A lot of people have said maybe he is the... Oh, P2. A lot of people said maybe he's the Jacques Villeneuve of TGP won his title against Farmers. However, if he could win the title this season in the most stacked lineup ever, now that would shut up the haters.
That would shut up the haters. Very much like Jacques Villeneuve, a lot of success early doors in his career and never quite been able to match it since. Moved to various other categories. Fluked a TGP Cars title, and Jean-Luc Taylor, at the moment, your man joining your reigning champion on the front row. Let's look further back. Wet Lemons is currently on a lap, Softy's teammate. Let's see how the Haas driver gets on. I don't think we've got anyone else relatively important on a lap at the moment. Not saying everyone else isn't important, of course. Everyone's equally as unimportant. As Wet Lemons then, he's heading through the tunnel. He's got a traffic in front of him, and the Haas driver He's going to have to do well at picking his braking zone. He's got Jake Davies just in front of him. Are we going to see the Aston Martin driver get out of the way? He does, but very late. That could have put Wet Lemons off, and he gets jolly close to that wall. The man who just missed out on the TGP2 title, Dom, and he's purple in the middle sector.
Looked like for ages Wet Lemons was going to take that title as Alistair Bain crosses line to finish his lap in the Red Bull, goes fourth. A very good lap time from the Red Bull man ahead of his teammate Aidan Griffiths. What Wet Lemons, as you said, Wet Lemons purple in the middle sector. Has he found time to maybe put himself right at the front with Jack Hickey and Johners? To the line now comes the Hasman, and for now he goes P7 ahead of his teammate. Good lap from Lemons.
I wonder if Jack Hickman had a shocking...
Oh, Matt Tibbles! He was on a fly and he's just smashed into the barriers, front wing off, and that's Matt Tibbles' session almost done, just about keeping the tyres on that car. He's going to have to get out of the way for a fast-moving Has.
Sorry to interrupt you. Softy is flying through the first sector. 1.3 seconds up in the first sector. We're about to see something special.
Softy really does excel at this circuit. He expects to be a high 1 minute 8. CJH goes into second in that McLaren. A good time from him. Manatee out of the way in the tunnel. What can Softy do with this lap time then? We'll see a second sector time shortly. Very orbits squirrely through the chicane there. Not quite the smoothest of runs, so it might not get into the 108 this time round, but it's still a very good lap so far. The Hasman flying in the first sector, flying also in the second sector. Is this going to be the new pole time? Down the man, a 196, a new benchmark from the Alpine man.
So neat and tidy, Softy. He's kissing every single wall around this track, and the Haas driver is going to come up to the line now, and he does go provisional pole, but not by a huge margin. It's only a 1 minute 9.4, but it does give him that all-important provisional pole, just as Dan the man took it, and Cork Gills just popped into fourth place. God, it's a good job I gave him back his Alpine. I wouldn't be anywhere near that high.
Keep an eye on Glock come around the final sector now. The championship leader before tonight, now second after that fourth place finish in the last race. Can he get anywhere near Softy's 109.4? Not a circuit he tends to like. The pad doesn't seem to suit this one. You can see it's a wheel 1, 2, 3 at the moment because Glock goes fourth quicker, still 6/10 adrift of Softy's lap time.
Yeah, Glock still a good spot for him. Obviously, a track like Monaco, it's all about track position, and at the moment he's where he needs to be in terms of his title rivals. We've got Jean on an out lap. How's Phil Barshall getting on? He's backed off of his lap. CJH obviously was second just a few moments ago. Now down in seventh as the track improves. We're into dusk at the streets of Monte Carlo. The yachts are full of party goers. Dom and I, we're having a party in the commentary box.
We sure are.
I've got a Diet Coke, and I'm sure Dom's got a glass of water. And we're having a great time in the commentary box up here, and we hope you are watching the stream as well. We've got just over 7 minutes left of this commentary session. Well, I suppose it is a commentary session, but it's also a qualifying session that's going on. And now we're about to see Jean go on to a flying lap.
Just want to point out that Kong Hoffner currently under breach of the TGB regulation 47.2, not wearing a helmet in that Alfa Romeo, so I hope it doesn't crash for his sake. Very dangerous. But let's go to Jonas now, the Mercedes man, very much in this title fight. You have to say, so far this season, he currently has 67 points, just 11 points back from the title leader that is Jack Hickman, the reigning champion, but he's 7 thousandths up in the first sector. He's purple. Jean-Luc Taylor is out there finding time. He needs to find a second to go quicker than Softy, but it's a good start. Won't get any advantage of a toe from his teammate. Not that it really matters here at Monaco. The only real advantage you'd gain is sort of maybe through the tunnel, but it's too dangerous to surely have your teammate right in front of you, then pulling out of the way last moment. But John is finding time in the first sector.
He's backed off.
Has he? Oh, he has,
yes. Backed off. He had some serious understeer in that second sector, and I wonder if he's just taken a rain check on that lap. Jack Hickman has just flown past, and we believe he is on a fast lap at the moment as he comes through the back, skims the wall, but it's skimming the wall, and he's found the wall even more so. And how has he kept that car in check? My goodness me, that was some serious car control. We said he was running it up against the wall, and he found the wall even more so than we had expected him to, as the championship leader and our reigning champion is pushing the limits out on the streets of Monaco.
Yeah, and third could become fourth very shortly. Glock's finding 3/10 so far after the middle sector. Can he get himself back on to the front row of the grid? Can he displace Dan and Jack Hickey? Only Jack Hickey slots in between them. I think Softy will want as many cars as possible in between him and Glock. That's what happened in Portugal. The two coming together, fighting for what was at the time a net P3. But Glock into P3 and Jack Hickey now down to fourth has it all to do with a final lap time in this session.
Yep, and Matt Tibos on a lap then. We were just watching his teammate who aborted his lap after going purple in Sector 1. Matt still yet to put a competitive lap time on the board. Herring his way through the tunnel now and coming down to the Nouvelle chicane. Are we going to see any slippery moments for him? Yes, we are. He's taken too much curb and invalidated his lap time. And Dom, he's only got 5... Oh! And he's clipped the wall. And I was about to say he's only got 5 minutes left. He very nearly had no time left.
Yeah, both Mercedes drivers now have in fact invalidated, so not the best qualifying for those two. This is a really important qualifying session in the season, more so than any other circuit. You do not want to be starting in the mid-pack, and at the moment that's very much where Jonas is. Alistair will be no higher than 12th. He's retired from this session, crashed out in that final set. You can see his Red Bull just parked as Jonas came through, but at the moment then, we've got Softy on pole, but only by 2 tenths, and we still expect these drivers to find another couple of tenths if possible. Dan the Man is 2 tenths adrift at the moment, and he's just starting his next and maybe final timed lap.
Yep, just under 5 minutes left to go then. Aidan Griffin's coming to the line, currently in P16, goes to P8. But we are focusing, as you rightfully said there, on Dan. But he's had a horrible first sector and he's 9 tenths down. Dom, are we going to see him maybe just getting his eye back in, even then coming into the pits? Or trying for a run, maybe deciding that he needs to get into the pits and be out on the track when the track's at its quickest at the end of the session?
Yeah, I think you want to be on Circuitonia when the track's at its very greenest right at the end, but Dan the Man preferring the clean air. It's so risky to go out late and then get stuck in traffic or make a mistake when it really matters and not have the time then to go again. So Dan the Man's getting it in early. 2 tenths adrift at the moment. He's found some time in the first sector. Can he find some more in the second sector? Dan the Man has won here many a time, more so than anyone else in the history of TGB1, but this isn't going to be the lap. He's lost a lot of time in the middle sector and might have to go again.
Dom Softy's on a lap at the head. He is half a tenth down on his personal best, which is the fastest of the session so far. And as he works his way then through the tunnel, the Haas driver, he, as Dom said a little bit earlier on in the programme, yet to win a race this season. And I can't remember the last time that Softy competed in a season whose race run without a win went on longer than week number 3. Perhaps it's never happened before, but surely around Monte Carlo he's found 2 tenths in the second sector. And are we about to see the Haas driver dip into the 1 minute 8 and put daylight between himself and everyone else as dusk starts to fall?
Softy just takes an extra level at Monte Carlo. This is a circuit he really enjoys. A 1:09.4 is his current best time. This is going to be an improvement, and it's 4 tenths of a second. Not quite in the 1:08. He'll be gutted by that himself, but it's still a 6 tenths advantage to anyone else. And Dan the Man's only found 4 thousandths in the first sector, so that's not going to be much of a response, I don't think, from the Alpine man.
Oh, he's pushing it there, isn't he, Dom? Look at him, he's on the ragged edge. He's hustling this Alpine through the middle sector, and he's 2 tenths up in through the middle sector. Just a few corners to go, though. He needs to keep it neat and tidy. He got a little bit squirrely on the exit of the swimming pool chicane. Dan just looks to be in supreme control of this car, and are we going to see him improve on second place? He's got half a second to find to Softcop. Is he going to find it? No, he only finds a tenth of a second and dips just below 4 tenths below the pole position man. Jack Hickman currently on a lap as well, Dom, and he's just invalidated his lap, so scrap that.
Yeah, no improvement for Jack Hickey this time round then, but what a lap it was from Softy. I don't think anyone's going to get near that. A 1:09.0. Maybe Jack Hickey is his biggest rival for pole here. Softy looking for 4 poles from 4 starts so far this season. Court Gill really impressing in P5 at the moment. The reigning TGB GT champion is 5th quickest. There's going to be 2 Alpines right at the front. Softy goes a 1:08.8. He finds 2 more tenths. Silly.
Well, he's taking risks, and it's paying off for him at the moment. But Dom, I tell you who's just gone purple in the middle sector, our reigning TGB GT champion Court, who very nearly found the wall just then. Certainly not as tidy as Softy into this last sector, so I don't think he's going to be displacing him for pole. But could he displace his teammate on the front row? As the run to the line comes, Court moves up. He doesn't. He lost a lot of time in that last sector. We saw how scruffy he got. Matt Tibos has backed out of another lap, and he's only just got chance for 1 more, Dom. He's going to be starting last.
Yeah, not the time for Matt Tibos here. Jack Hickey's also finding time now on another time run. Are the tyre life still going to be in those soft tyres? He comes round now. The middle part of this track needs to get it neat and tidy. It's not quite anywhere near as superior as Softy had it on his time run, but he's still finding time. Still a 10th here or there. It could get him in crucially in front of Glock on that second row, but he's going to have to find some almighty final couple of corners to get ahead of Dan the Man, who's in the pits. Dan the Man will not be improving. Can Jack Hickey now get onto this front row of the grid here in his Ferrari? He doesn't. He stays 4th.
No time down for Jack.
Glock's on a Schumacher. Clogs, he's sort of, I think he's given up there. That's his qualifying done. He starts no higher than P3 and yellow
Matt
flags
Tibos
here.
is out. Matt Tibos is out. He's going to be starting last. Oh, I know that I said last week as a joke that I'm a bad omen for Matt Tibos because he never does well when I commentate on him, but this is something else, man. Come on. Put it together, son. How's Phil Barswell doing, Dom? The Williams driver is just starting a lap. Can he improve on 7th? I think he'll be disappointed with 7th at the moment.
Yeah, I think he will. He's found time in the first sector. That's not a surprise. It was a poor first sector on his last run, so he's got time to find out there. 1:10.3 at the moment. It's so tight in that mid-pack. Just 2/10 puts him up to 5th position. If he can find a bit more, maybe even get on that second row with Glock and Hickey, maybe splitting those two. But the top three aren't going to be finding any improvement in this session. I think Jack Hickey is also done. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it is going to be about those sort of 5th downwards. Maybe Court or Jordan could spring a surprise here. Look how well they've gone so far. 5th and 6th. But Phil, finding pace, finding time. Can he improve on that P8?
Yeah, well, he's coming through to the back now. This is a corner where you got to hold your breath, and he held his breath well, and he's purple, according to my timing screen. So maybe he lost a lot of time in the last sector on his best lap. Just a few corners to go. Are we going to see an improvement from the Williams driver? Can he get himself up from what is currently the 4th row of the grid at the moment around Monaco? That's a nightmare. The run to the line, Phil Barswell, he improves to 5th and moves himself ahead of Court's Alpine for the moment. And Court is on a quicker lap, though, he approaches the final sector.
He's finding 4/10 out there, a bit twisty through that penultimate corner, maybe going to cost him really excelling around this track, although I say that, a scruffy lap for the Alpine man. Can he improve on P6? He can, he goes 5th, good lap time from Court there. As Roy crosses the line, goes 7th.
Yeah, and so drivers finding time at the end of the session. We've just got Aidan Griffins out on the track at the moment, but he's invalidated his lap, so he is not going any quicker. Well, that's that was an interesting session, wasn't it, Dom?
It was. Pole for Softy again, yes, but throughout that session, it looked like there was going to be an almighty battle between the midfield, and indeed it was. Court will be very happy with P5. Phil maybe a little disgruntled with P6, but Manatee and AlphaTauri teammates Jordan and Manatee always appear to be together on circuit. They'll be together on the 4th row of the grid. CJH P9, Aidan Griffin's 10th, right in the mid-pack. Johners will be very disappointed with P11. He's in this title fight according to him, but P11 not where you want to be starting at Monaco. And Matt Tibos, I mean, the biggest loser in that session. P20, that's no good for him.
No, that's a disaster for him, really. And I don't see how it could get worse for him tonight. That's really not good. That's really not good. So, ladies and gentlemen, your Monaco Grand Prix TGP1 qualifying order. Softy takes a commanding pole position. Dom, forget nearly half a second. It was nearly 7/10 of a second. Glock is on 3rd, the Alfa Romeo driver. Then Jack Hickey in P4, Court Gill 5th, Phil Barswell in 6th. An AlphaTauri 4th row, Jovial Manatee and Jordan. CJH in 9th and Aidan Griffin's 10th. John, he'll be disappointed with P11 in the end. Cam 13th, 12th. Kong Hoffner 13th. Wet Lemons in 14th. And then we've got Alistair Bain, Jake, Theo, Ollie Hart, Jack Pearson and Matt Tibos. Well, Dom, I'm bracing myself for this. I think this is going to be chaotic, shall we say?
That's certainly one word for it, Mike. Sort of dusk here at Monte Carlo. The streetlights are on, so the drivers will be racing under floodlights somewhat. But yeah, what a race we've got in store here. I'm sure we're going to see the occasional safety car, the occasional VSC, and maybe, Mike, just maybe, the occasional front wing change here at Monaco. What a race this is going to be. I can't wait.
I think we are going to have the odd front wing change or two. Drivers just getting their last few preparations ready. And we are ready. We've got drivers on the grid. We've got 3, 4, 5 lights. And we're underway in TGP1 in Monaco. And it's a good start for Softy. Terrible start for everyone else. Softy's just left them for dead. Glock up the inside of Dan. There's contact. And Glock, our championship contender, is facing the wrong way after just one corner. We thought it was bad for Matt Tibos. It's even worse for the Alfa Romeo man. He was leading the championship coming into this weekend. And now he is going to be losing a lot of ground to everyone else. Jack Hickey is now cleared up to 3rd. Court Gill's jumped Phil as well, and up to 4th place, and Phil is watching over his shoulder towards CJH. The AlphaTauris have gone nowhere, and as they filtered their way through the hairpin, it's a disaster for Glock.
What a start it was from the McLaren man, as CJH really excels at race starts and Court's round. No! The Alpine man is facing the wrong way. He just lost the back end of that car, lost his throttle. Now has to wait for all the cars to pass. Slow motion, it feels like.
On Phil. Oh, goodness me. Sorry to interrupt there, Dom, but Phil was pulling in some late defensive shapes, and they're side by side as they go towards the back. This is going to end badly, surely. Phil just about keeps ahead, and CJH is getting very racy in that McLaren, as we said. McLaren, the only team on the grid this season with a driver not in a race win, but CJH can smell blood around Monaco.
Konghoffner out of this race, crashed out in the tunnel section, trying to get the action of it on that opening lap. What a start it's been here. Softy a 2.5 clear already. That's doubled his qualifying advantage. Down the man second, Jack Hickey crucially keeping 3rd for now, but CJH flying in that McLaren. Some real pace in Portugal and now some real pace at Monte Carlo.
Phil has already dropped nearly 5 seconds behind Jack Hickey. I wonder if he has some damage, because he is really struggling. And CJH is almost pushing him through the casino. He's telling him to get on and spend his chips, because he's got plenty more in his back pocket, and he fancies to go on the roulette table. But CJH at the moment is having to stick behind Phil Bargewell, and that is keeping everyone in tow. And I tell you what, it's letting the front three get away. And I wouldn't be surprised if Dan the Man and Jack Hickey wouldn't be too disappointed with 2nd and 3rd at this rate.
Yeah, Jonas has gained a few places as well, up to P8. He's got both Red Bulls behind him and both AlphaTauris ahead of him. He's got Honda power no matter which way he looks. Can Manatee start to hunt down these two ahead of him? CJH and Phil Bargewell racing each other for 4th and 5th. Softy safe in P1 for now. He's miles clear, streaking clear. Maybe a full pit stop ahead in a few laps' time. Down the man holding on to 2nd. Jackie Hill wants to clear him, and CJH goes through on Phil Bargewell. Good move. Phil made a mistake. CJH capitalised, and he's up to P4.
Yep, and Phil is having to dive into the pits after that damage he received as well, and the cork has gone from the bottle and the champagne is spraying out. CJH up into P4, but over 5 seconds back from the podium places, but he's going to get his head down now and try and see if he can catch. He's already pulled out a 1.3 second advantage to Jovial Manatee. The McLaren driver has got the bit between his teeth. Meanwhile, he was facing backwards at the end of the first turn on lap 1, but Glock is already back into the top 10, and he's towing Matt Tibos with him.
Yeah, Glock and Matt Tibos making their progress now back through the field after that poor start for Glock, and of course the mistake from Matt Tibos in qualifying, the mistake being he didn't get a lap time in. New Zealand Cam out of the session. Will that be a safety car or virtual safety car stoppage in this race? John is now all over the back of Jordan, with Aiden all over the back of him. Johns wants to clear these cars as soon as he can. He can see all this while the top 3 pulling clear. CJH already 5 seconds adrift of Jack Hickey because he was stuck behind Phil Bargewell for so long. Phil really struggling here. I said he's either going to win it or spin it, and indeed it was a spin on the 2nd lap of the race. And Phil Bargewell now at the rear end of the field with the likes of Lemons, Ollie, Court, Jake and Theo.
Interestingly, John is the highest runner on the medium tyre. The next highest then is Phil, who's obviously just pitted. John started on that medium tyre, and at the moment, not that gives you much of an advantage around Monaco, because obviously track position is key as opposed to anything else, but strategy will come into it, and if he can get a bit of clear air after the 2 AlphaTauris pit in front of him, then that could give him a good opportunity. But CJH has got some real pace, hasn't he, Dom? He's streaking clear of the 2 AlphaTauris, and Roy's being left for dust, and now keeping an eye on his mirrors for his teammate.
Yeah, I think Jordan and Manatee will be stuck if there's a safety car at any moment now, because that means they're both going to have to queue in the pit lane. I think one of them might even actually just stay out, but I think they're still better off coming in and queuing up. The same for the Red Bulls. They're also quite close together, so they'll be hoping that there's no safety car anytime soon, hoping that no one further back makes a mistake that causes any sort of stoppage in this race. I don't think I've jinxed it just this time. Looks like we're safe of any sort of VSC or safety car, but Softy all the while streaking further and further clear. Now 3 seconds to gap over Dan on the 3rd lap.
Yeah, we've already lost 4 cars in this race. Theo Hickman's just made it a 4th. Softy just looks so in control.
Oh, Jordan's out. Got stuck on the wall. He was sort of fighting Manatee, clipped the right end of the Armco and got stuck, dropped 4 places. Now back down to 9th and just ahead of Glock, who's going to be trying to get through as soon as he can. And there he goes.
Yeah, and now Matt Tibos surely will pass through as well. Matt Tibos then will be about to make his way up into the top 10. You would have thought that Jordan has got to come into the pits to get rid of that front wing, and indeed he does. So Matt Tibos, as we said, then up into the top 10. We got the 2 Red Bulls who are now getting very close to the back of the Mercedes of Jean, who himself, obviously after that incident with Jordan that happened just in front of him, has lost a second to Jovial Manatee. The gaps, we've got some big gaps then through the field. Jack Pearson also up to P11 as well. He's kept his nose relatively clean. So a quick rundown of the order then on lap number 5. Softy still your race leader by nearly 3 seconds from down the man. Hasn't changed in terms of positions for those two. Jack Hickey up to third after Glock spin on lap number 1. CJH, a great start for him, up into P4. Jovial Manatee then in 5th. Jean-Luc Taylor 6th, the highest driver on the medium tyres. Aidan Griffins and Alistair Bain 7th and 8th. Then we've got Glock, Matt Tibos, Jack Pearson and Phil Bargewell. Ollie Hart in 13th. Jordan, currently the last point scorer, with Court Gill just behind him, who's got the fastest lap of the race so far. And Wet Lemons, the last of the running drivers.
Softy will only accept the maximum 26 points from this race. Currently Court has that fastest lap, but not in the top 40 at the moment, so it won't stand if he was to finish there. But Softy, I'm sure, will find more pace, more time later on in the race when he knows he needs to push. At the moment, he doesn't necessarily need to. He's got the gap 3 seconds over down the man, now just sort of settling in a smooth rhythm to keep that sustainable gap. He'll be into the pits, I think, once those behind start to pit, or maybe he'll just keep on weighing. So any sort of VSC. He's got the gap, got the breathing space, looking good for Softy at the moment.
Yeah, the two Red Bulls have just switched positions as well. Alistair, you would have to say, probably got a bit more speed than Aidan at this stage of the race, although he's just ran very wide, and that's compromised both the Red Bulls, and it's allowed John to scarf away a little bit and keep putting the pressure onto Roy. So perhaps seeing tactics coming into this. Jack Hickey, meanwhile, is starting to erode the gap to Dan the Man in P2, so maybe he's not settling for third place like we said he might be doing earlier on, but at the moment the race just seems to be calming down a little bit, Dom, and drivers just settling into a rhythm around the twisty streets of Monaco.
Yeah, Phil Bargewell, of course, with that damage early on, made an early call. He's pitted now. He's finding chunks of time out there in clean air, so keep an eye on him when those sort of around 5th, 6th, 7th decide to pit from this race. They could find themselves battling with Phil Bargewell because he's now setting some quick pace, and those ahead might not necessarily know it. They might just assume Phil's out of contention because of the mistake earlier on.
Oh, CJH
is out! No!
No, disaster for the McLaren. He's facing the wrong way on the run down to La Rascasse, and the man who was running in 4th, who had so much pace, now is going to end up pointless, and it's a disaster for him. And he really was having a great run of it, but he's not going to end up with anything. It's going to be nil point in the south of France for the McLaren driver.
I wonder how long Manatee will fight Jonas for. Will he let the Mercedes man go? These two, of course, good friends on and off the track. Will Manatee get involved in any sort of squabble between the two of them, when it may be better off just letting Jonas go and then maybe coming back at him later in this race? But Manatee will want the podium himself. He knows that just one mistake from the front three puts him right in that fight, and Phil Bargewell continuing to make more and more inroads on those ahead as Jack Pearson and Court both make pit stops further back.
Yep, and we've got, because of this sort of cork that we've got with Roy, it is allowing Glock and Tibos to close. So, don't count them out of still being in the hunt for a podium should anything happen to the top three. Roy, 12 seconds behind Jack Hickey, really has not got the pace to match those in front. And you have to say it's a case of the top three and then, 4th to 9th, isn't it? And then just everyone else who's had an incident.
Pretty much, yeah. I think it is really just the top three in a race of their own, and then maybe everyone else just sort of fighting for 4th, because Roy's pace is sort of allowing those further back who are yet to make stops, or have already made stops but made mistakes earlier on, to come back into this race. Phil Bargewell is finding time, but he's also cutting corners, and that's not going to help him at the end of the race. Time penalty is so crucial around a circuit like Monaco. If the field will bunch up because of a safety car, anyone with a time penalty will lose out massively.
Yep, Jean still piling the pressure onto Roy, and as they make their way through the casino again, is he going to fancy his chances on the run down to Mirabeau? I thought he was going to think about it there, but he just pulled out of the bump behind Roy and sticks to his guns at the moment. And Alistair Bain just holding back at the moment. Aidan Griffins losing a bit of time behind his teammate, and that's allowing Glock an opportunity. Matt Tibos has dropped back a little bit from Glock as well. Perhaps the Mercedes driver picking up a little bit of damage, but at the moment he has already gained 11 places, so we can't be too frustrated with that. Jean then on the run down to the Nouvelle Chicane, still not close enough, and as the race goes on and on, you will sense that the Mercedes driver will get more and more frustrated. So, as they make their way through to back, through the swimming pool then, Jean still behind us. We've got Softy, made an early call to come into the pits, but he should still come out, I would have thought, ahead of this Jovial Manatee scrap. Although he's got, I wonder if he had a penalty because he paused in the pits for a second there, but I don't think he did. He comes to the pit exit at the moment. Where is Roy? Roy's just come across the start-finish line at the moment, and Softy has timed this to perfection as he has kept himself ahead of the traffic, and that has ruined any chance that Dan or Jack had of completing an overcut. Jean still frustrated behind the AlphaTauri of Roy.
That's worked out really, really well for Softy, hasn't it? He's come out right ahead of this two, did not want to come out behind any sort of slow stop, and that would have been the case. That's throbbing damage, is it for Aidan or Glock behind? I saw some bodywork flying in the air may well have been for the Red Bull of Aid, unless it was his teammate ahead of him. But yeah, unless there's any sort of safety car VSC now, Softy is pretty safe, I think, for this victory. Jack kicking down will be praying for a stoppage to this race, allow them a cheap pit stop. But I don't think it will be enough anyway, because Softy's just 11 seconds adrift of Jack, who's further ahead on the road without to make a pit stop.
Within all of that as well, Matt Tibos came to the pits, lost a lot of time, so I think he did have damage and perhaps has changed his front wing. Aidy Griffiths picks up a penalty just behind this battle for 4th place. Are we going to see anyone try and do an early stop? Obviously, the only one who won't want to do that is John. He's on their medium tyre and he will not want to pit early. But could we see the likes of Alistair perhaps come into the pits now and put on a set of medium tyres and undercut Roy? That could well be an option. And Alistair has pitted. Oh, maybe he's listening. Well, Alistair, if this works out...
Both Red Bulls have pitted.
Oh,
well, Alistair had a front wing change, and Hayton is going to be sat there for about another 10 seconds before he can finally get his tyres changed in this race. Does he have front wing damage too?
I tell you what, Glock's pitted, and he's jumped both of them. Wow, that was inspired move from Ryan McLaughlin there, and he's come out. Is he ahead of Phil? Yes, he is. He is going to be ahead of Phil. So that's worked out really well for the Alfa Romeo driver.
Yeah, so Glock, despite the spin early on, already back up to 6th place. He will not be any lower than that now. Can he start to find some time? I think this will force Manatee and Jonas to pit because they know that Glock is going to jump them both if they stay out for another couple of laps. Jonas might have to go a bit longer, but I think the softs can easily last 10 laps around here. So if I was Jonas, I'd be in this lap to try and undercut Manatee in case he stays out.
Yeah, I think that's got to be his best option. And Ollie Hart has crashed. Are we going to see our first virtual or proper safety car? Dan and Jack Hickman have passed the pit entry. So they're not going to make any benefits if there is one. But at the moment, it seems that the Monaco... And we have seen Roy come into the pits then. This is crucial for the race now between him and Glock. Glock is just coming towards Tabac at the moment. And we've got a yellow flag a little bit further back. Something's happened with Alistair Bain, I think. Matt Tibos has got ahead of him. But nonetheless, Roy comes into a stop. Glock is only just coming towards Larascas. I think Roy's got this done. I think he's safe.
It's going to be really close, isn't it? But I think Manatee, you might be right. He should just get ahead of him. You'll see sort of Manatee peel out the pits now as Glock comes down to turn 1. And indeed, looks like Manatee might just have this if he can get a nice, clean turn 1, which indeed he does. That should be enough for the AlphaTauri man to stay clear. And now Jonas will try and go as quick as he can on in clean air and see if he can jump both of them.
John needs to pit, Dom. I think John needs to pit. That's the only way that he's going to jump Roy. If he gets a good lap in now, he's got to pit soon before Roy gets up to pace on these medium tyres. As the longer he leaves it, Roy could get a little bit more used to it, and unless he's fighting with Glock, John could find himself behind both of these, as a Mercedes is putting a pressure on another car at the moment, and that's Matt Tibos on Phil Bargewell. Phil's really struggling.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jonas has to be careful as well of Matt Tibos and Phil Bargewell, who will be closing up, but the pressure really on Phil Bargewell now, sort of going a little slowly as Matt Tibos all over the back of him. The front two are in the pits. Softy does now take the lead of this race, but Matt Tibos just about unable to get Phil Bargewell with Alistair joining this train too.
Oh, Phil's really struggling. It doesn't look like he's got any damage per se, but yeah, really not going very well for the Williams driver at the moment. And as you said, this is bringing Alistair Bain into the scrap, and Matt's going to have to be checking his mirrors in a minute. Phil runs deep into Larascas, and Matt's just going to need to clear this Williams as soon as he can.
Yeah, indeed he will. Glock getting closer and closer to Manatee. The gap at half a second. The gap even less between Phil and Matt Tibos. Can Matt Tibos get through? He got front wing damage in the last race. Getting too hard, too aggressive early on. But here we go.
As they run up towards the casino, they're going side by side, but Phil, for now, just about holds on. But Matt's going to try an audacious move around the outside. My goodness me! I have never seen an overtake like that. Matt Tibos has just pulled something, not even out of the top drawer. He's reached around above the ceiling to try and find that move. My goodness, I have never seen someone go around the outside of a casino. Hats off to you, Matt. That took some courage.
What an overtake from Matt Tibos. He'll be gutted it's only for P7, but still, nonetheless, it's an extra point, and that's great news for him in this championship fight. Jonas is in the pits, yeah. So Jonas, where can he come out? Will it be ahead of Glock and Manatee? Smed will be behind, but should be clear of his teammate Matt Tibos and Phil Bargewell.
Roy's only just got to the swimming pool chicane. John's going to be long gone. By the time Roy gets onto the start-finish straight, John's going to have acres of space. He's played a blinder.
How's that worked out? Manatee's lost so much time on this fresh set of tyres, unless it's going to be really close to Jonathan to turn 1. Here he comes. Maybe it will be closer. Jonas might just have done this. This will be brilliant. A fantastic overcut from the Mercedes man. He does. He's P4. And now, on fresh softs to the end of the race, he'll pull clear. Good work.
Yep, and it just shows how much of a block Roy was, because Jacques Hickey's almost got a pit stop to Jean at the moment in all of that. That's how much of a difference this has made. And Jean, as you rightfully said there, Dom, can now get the hammer down and see if he can close in on those top three in case any of them make a mistake or get some damage. We may well see Jean still get onto the podium, as Glock's going to now have to turn his attentions to trying to get past what seems to be the immovable object of Roy Scorer's AlphaTauri.
Yeah, he's been very good at keeping cars behind him today, hasn't he? He knows how to defend, where exactly to park that car and where to use that outer corners. He's really good at doing just that. He's a former champion, of course, himself. So many former champions in this grid. It was a beautiful move from Alistair Bain too on Phil Bardwell into turn one on this lap. So Phil Bardwell really struggling on those 13-lap tyres. Of course, made a mistake early on, got damaged, came in to clean, to go to medium tyres. You suspect the tyres should still be fine. As Wet Lemons becomes another casualty from that race. What's that now? 7 cars out?
Yep, only got 13 runners left. Everyone who's going to finish this race is going to pick up points. I don't know if Wet Lemons has done enough of the race to earn the point, but we'll see after the race when we get the official classification. Meanwhile, Glock's still where he needs to be with Jovial Manatee, but he's not where he wants to be, because if it was up to him, he'd be ahead of the AlphaTauri.
Yeah, keep an eye on Jordan as well. Just 4 tenths now adrift of the second Williams of Jack Pearson. The Williams drivers 9th and 11th, not the race they wanted here at Monte Carlo. They've been practicing all weekend. They've been sweating as much as you'd expect anyone to sweat for a league race. And yet it doesn't mean anything. They're 9th and 11th. Maybe they would have been better off going out and seeing a bit of that sunlight noon. But both of them, of course, with COVID, so maybe that's affecting them at Williams. But yeah, 9th and 11th, not what either of them would have wanted from tonight.
Yeah, TGP Series is pro clubs, centre defensive midfielders, both picking up COVID, clearly been getting up to something in the dressing rooms behind everyone's backs, but it seems as if the 2 Williams drivers have also not been doing very well on their setups, and despite trying to perfect this track as much as they can, it bites, and it bites hard, and if you get it wrong, you'll find yourself losing a lot of time, as Glock just sort of... He's almost stalking. Oh no, he's not! He's not stalking Roy! He's facing the wrong way! And he's going to have to find reverse now. And Matt Tibos has got through. And Ryan McLaughlin, our championship leader, as we said going into this evening, has lost not 1, but 2 places.
I've been on Glock for the last 5 laps on Spectate Camera. I thought, you know what, I'm going to follow Softy for a lap. And immediately, 3 seconds later, Glock spins it round. So Bejo just stuck with him. Softy, the gap between him and Dan is down to 1.3 seconds. Is there an incident for Softy?
He's got some front wing damage by the looks of it, Dom. He's missing... Is he missing a bit of his front? I can't quite see.
There's huge damage for Softy. He's lost a large part of that car. The gap's coming down and down. Is he going to pit? Is he going to try and stay out for the last 5 laps? Softy, he's got huge damage.
Dan the man is well poised to take... I wouldn't even say an unlikely race victory. I don't think even Ben New would have put him on the race winners odds for a race win around Monte Carlo. Softy's going to throw it away, and in a side-by-side running up the hill, Dan the man is going to take the lead, and as he comes into Casino Square, he imitates Matt Tibos' move, and he takes the lead of the race. Dan the man, one of the oldest and most longest-serving drivers in TGP1 history, has taken the race lead from the man who is gunning for the title. He loves Monte Carlo, Softy, but right now it is causing him heartache as Dan the man moves up into P1.
And Jack Hickey, not before long, is going to be all over the back of the Hasman. Softy just doesn't seem to want to win a race this season. So many said it's just a matter of time before Softy gets that 70 win mark to match James O'Connor, maybe even overtake him. He only needed 5 wins from this season, but already 6 races in, he's currently set to have absolutely nothing. Softy, winless streak at the moment, the longest winless streak in his career in TGV1, unless Dan the man now makes any sort of mistake up front, but already 2 seconds clear. Dan can start to take it a bit easier, just try and consolidate that net P1 position with Softy making that mistake. And can Jack Hickey now crucially get ahead of Softy and gain another 3 points on his title rival? Still the title favourite, I have to say.
This is... The tables haven't just turned, Dom. They've been chucked on the floor. The Monopoly, Scrabble, everything is blown all over the carpet. And Softy, his world turned upside down. He was cruising out front. He had almost a 7-second lead at one point. And now he's staring at his rearview mirror at one of his main championship rivals bearing down on him. And Jordan's just behind these two. He is a lap down, so ignore the AlphaTauri, it's just behind. But it's just going to be a matter of time before Softy drops behind the McLaren, surely.
Yeah, I mean, this Ferrari's looking really quick. Jack Hickey wants to try and get through. The reigning champion knows these are huge points that could come in massive at the end of this season. Down the man, streaking clear the gap, 4 seconds. Softy. It doesn't look like any massive damage on the front wing. I wonder if this is with his wheel. He's had many a glitch in the past in that has. In the past, he's had his brake go on him. He's had a glitch safety car, a glitch drive-through, just whatever it is. He has no luck around this circuit. Despite his 3 or 4 wins he already has, he's lost about another 3 or 4 because of misfortune. And this is another to that tally. There's still 3 more laps to go in this race as they come round to complete lap number 17. Can Softy hold on? But as Softy looked to try and get win number 67, instead it's down the man who's probably going to get win number 65 and go third on the all-time list ahead of Ben and just behind Softy himself.
Well, that will be a huge smug moment for Dan to get ahead of Ben Alesi. If you don't know much about that, then go back and have a look at the podcast that we did with those two, where Dan talks about his rivalry with Ben Alesi. Meanwhile, on the track, Jack Hickman is putting all kinds of pressure on Softy, and at the moment, the Haas driver is soaking it up. But for how much longer? He's got just 2.5 laps to go, and as Dom said, this is crucial points for these two. Jack will be desperate for an extra 3 points, and Softy will not want to fall onto the third step of the podium. But Jack's made a little mistake as they come towards into the tunnel, Dom.
What's remarkable is Dan's been nowhere this season. He was 15th in the championship before tonight. He didn't even score in the last race in Portugal, so I suspect he's gone down to 16th, 17th or 18th. Yeah, here he is now, on course for the first win of the season for him. He's flying up there in the Alpine. He really has had some pace here at Monaco. And yeah, Jack Hickey now a bit further back from the Haas, maybe the lapped car of Jordan sort of getting a bit of a distraction for him.
I think that Jack can really do without Jordan right about now, and I'd agree with that sentiment, because Jordan, get out of the way, son. You're costing us a great battle for second with just 2 laps to go on the streets of Monaco. How often do you get an opportunity like this? Jordan, get out of the way. We want to see what's going on here.
I think he heard your call, Mike.
Truly got out of the way.
I think he heard your call there.
Thanks, Jordan. Good stuff, mate. Meanwhile, oh gosh, Jack Hickman could now start putting pressure on Softy once again. Dan the man has got nearly 8-second lead. Not in his wildest dreams did he ever think he'd have this opportunity to take another race win in Monaco. And Dan is just stretching clear. He just needs to keep his nose clean. What a brilliant story. And are we about to see another one develop? We've got one of the TGP1's greatest against one of TGP1's newest greatest. Jack Hickman piling all sorts of pressure on Softy, who is visibly struggling.
Look how many lockups that Haas is making around this track. There's something seriously wrong with that Haas, whether it's front wing or maybe an issue with his wheel settings, because he keeps locking up every single corner. Really struggling out there, just about holding on to P2. He's 8 seconds, make that 9 seconds now adrift of Dan the man, who's on his final tour of this circuit. If he makes any mistake, then suddenly Softy's back in contention for the win here. But Jack Hickey is running out of time, running out of miles to try and get through on the Haas. Can he make a move maybe up the run to the casino like we saw Dan the man do?
Oh, he's gone for a late one into turn number 1, and he thought better of it. Maybe he shouldn't have done, because as you said, Dom, maybe he should have held tight and had a run up to the casino where Softy really seems to be struggling. Jack his front wing is flirting with Softy's rear end, and as they run down to Mirabeau now, Softy just about does enough to keep hold of second place, but he's visibly struggling. Into the hairpin, are we going to see a lunge? Not quite. Softy is so slow through the hairpin, and Jack's just got no answer at the moment. And at the moment, Softy unbelievably is doing enough. Dan the man, meanwhile, is coming through the Nouvelle chicane and has not got long to go, but we're glued to the battle for second.
This is brilliant, isn't it? Jonas will be praying these two come together, but Jack Hickey's been very smart, very wise. He's not going for any silly dive bombs. He's a mature racer. He's been here for some time now, since 2012 when he joined TGB Xbox. He's the reigning champion.
We're going to have to cut to our unlikely race winner. If you'd have said to me before tonight that Alpine and Dan the man were going to win a race, I would have bitten your hand off. Well, get chopping, because Dan has won around Monaco for TGP1 once again. A long streak has come to an end, and Softy has somehow held on to second place, and Jack Hickman, despite his best efforts, has held on and will finish in third. What a race we were treated to. We said it would be chaotic before the start of the race, and we delivered. Thank you, Monaco. What a race we've had.
Yeah, Jonas takes a brilliant P4, another consistent result for the man from Harlow. Roy should get 5th. Matt Tibbles will be back up to 6th despite that poor qualifying, so really saved it in this race. Alistair Bain will be 7th. Aidan Griffin's all over the back of Glock. Has Glock got any sort of damage on that? Has, because the Red Bulls closed right up in the last couple of laps. Glock will hold on to 8th, just about. Aidan takes 9th. Phil Bargewell will be disappointed to be down in 10th. Court and Jack will get points still, despite being 11th and 12th. Of course, points down to the top 14 here in TGP1. Jordan Lemons will also score points despite their incidents. But what a race that was. Softy still winless from this season after 6 attempts. Dan the Man joins the winners rostrum for this season and takes a 65th career victory. One behind Softy and now crucially one clear of Ben Alesi.
Yep, our 4th winner of the season. And as I said, I would not have put him down as our 4th winner of the season before Monaco. The driver of the day, I guess, is going to go to Matt Tibos, considering he started last and finished 6th. Yep, but Dom, I already know who my driver of the day is. Who's your driver of the day for Monaco?
I mean, Dan the Man for me. I mean, Softy, up until his incident, was driver of the day. But yeah, wow. What a result that was there from Dan to take the win. He's my driver of the day. Finally getting that 65th win. Finally ahead of Ben Alesi after so long. But yeah, the Alpine Man, what a surprise. That's up there with Prost 996 for me, Mike. It's that unlikely.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. What a story for tonight. Dan the Man, an unlikely race winner. And that's just brilliant. So let's give you a rundown of our provisional order for the Monaco TGP1 Grand Prix. Dan the Man, our unlikely race winner. Softy, it was going to be pole, it was going to be the fastest lap, and it was going to be the race win, but it went away from him in the end. But he held on to 2nd. Jack Hickman took a well-deserved 3rd. Jean in 4th. Jovial Manatee P5. Matt Tibos, good recovery for him in P6. Alistair Bain P7th. Glock, it all went wrong for him on lap 1 in P8. Aidan Griffin's P9. Court Gill in P10. Jack Pearson, Phil Barswell P11. Jack Pearson P12. Our last classified finisher with Jordan and Wet Lemons. Finishing off the scoring with Ollie, CJH, Jake, Theo, Cam and Konghofer failing to score. Wow. Dom, I don't really know how to summarise tonight. I don't think there are too many conclusions we can draw from it maybe initially, apart from the fact that are we for one of the first times seeing Softy struggle against his opposition?
I mean, the pace, the opposition has really stepped it up. Softy's been away, of course, for a season. The rest of the field have found a little bit extra time, and Softy's under some real pressure at the moment, making mistakes you wouldn't normally expect him to see. But even still in Monaco, he was 7 seconds clear. He didn't need to push, but I mean, it's a huge mistake to make. I'd love to see what happened. I think we just missed it. I think I cut back to Glock having he just made a mistake. It was then Softy when he made his mistake. So, wow. I mean, that was a eventful night, and there's so many title contenders. It's hard to pick one standout man so far. Maybe Jack Hickey, because he leads the championship. But yeah, so many men in this fight, and I can't wait to see what happens next week.
Yeah, well, don't miss it. That's all I can say. Absolutely don't miss this one. We don't know where any of this is going. I wouldn't even like to try and predict where any of this is going. This has just been a treat of a season we've had. And as we said, only in week 3. We've only had 6 rounds so far. And we've got some really exciting races still to come this season. Next week, we're in Canada, we're in America, we're in North America, and we're going to have some fantastic races in the Circuit de Montreal and the Circuit of the Americas. Dom, any last words before we sign off?
I mean, just don't miss next week. Don't miss next week. And also don't miss the podcast out with John, as I believe, this Wednesday, if you've recorded it, Mike.
Anyway, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. And we hope you all had a very good evening. He's been Dom Smith. I've been Mike Noon. This has been a TGP Series production, and we look forward to seeing you next week. But for now, see you on PS4.